Hi, I'm Jason Bryant from the Short-Time Wrestling Podcast and founder of the Mat Talk Podcast Network. Shows on the network are individually owned and operated, and those opinions presented and expressed may not reflect others, the sponsors, patrons, or the parent network. Find more shows about the greatest sport in the world at the Mat Talk Podcast Network at mattalkonline.com.
The mind of Pat Popolizio is a wondrous thing. And for you Pack Wrestling fans, you'll get to go inside the mind of the Skip each and every episode here on the Pack Mentality Pop-Ins podcast. Now, here's your host, NC State Director of Athletics Digital Communications, Brian Reinhardt.
All right, Wolfpack Wrestling fans, NC State Wrestling coming off its third straight ACC Championship, gearing up for this year's NCAA Championships will take place in St. Louis. And we're back with a brand new episode of the Pack Mentality Pop-Ins podcast, episode 78 for all those that I know are tracking back home. And we're actually recording this episode before the brackets come out. So no Pat Popolizio today. He's down on the Stairmaster. I'm sure he's pacing back and forth thinking about those brackets. So I went down the hall, looked around WB, found somebody, sport administrator, former NC State wrestler, Josh Dalton. Josh, second time on the podcast. You're nervous yet again, but glad to have you on the podcast.
What's up, everyone? Brian, thanks for having me.
Josh, I'm just going to throw you on the podcast real quick. Just the travel, just the setup for the NCAAs is very different this year. There's a lot more work going into this year. But on the flip side of that, we're having an NCAA this year. We didn't have that last year. As a sport administrator, how great is it that we're having this event? The guys get to go this year. And for their perspective, it's probably going to be the same tournament. Maybe not for fans, but for them, they're going to get to compete. How do you see that as a sport administrator? How proud are you of everything that they've gone through this year to get to this stage?
Absolutely. Yeah, it's huge that we're able to have them compete. I mean, going into this fiscal year, we didn't even know if we were going to have a season. Obviously, coming off of last year, disappointing, not able to go to NCAAs. So we were pretty much doing everything we could to help navigate it. I mean, our first priority obviously was keeping all the student athletes safe. And then also the staff safe. And it's really took a team effort. Like so many different groups have stepped up. It's honestly been a challenging year for all of us just to really navigate it. I mean, from the multiple times a week that we're having guys test, or anyone who's in the travel party is doing coronavirus tests. Obviously, the financial burden. One, we didn't have a football season where we were able to have fans for the whole season. And then likewise with the basketball. So we hurting this year financially. So we've been, as far as budgets and everything, have been significantly reduced. We've been trying to make do. And then obviously the financial aspect that goes into testing and everything that goes along with that so many times for a week. But, we obviously that's why the reason we're here is for the student athletes, to help them grow and, both from an education standpoint and becoming outstanding professionals, but also like doing their craft, right? So they can continue to advance there and reach their goals. So a lot of people have stepped up this year and we've kind of came together as a team. So it's a huge accomplishment. I would say that we're at this point, we're planning to got our flight and everything ready for NCAAs and, hopefully they go out there and have fun, right? That's ultimately just go out there, have a good time and do their sport and participate. But it really is significant.
You talk about a lot of curveballs. I think one of the first curveballs that was thrown at us, the ACC Championships in Reynolds Coliseum. They weren't supposed to be here this year. They were actually going to be up at Virginia, but schedule conflicts. So NC State stepped up. You're a part of that committee that said, yeah, we're going to host it. Coming off that, you saw the team raise their third straight ACC title. How rewarding was it to that weekend to go off as it did on short notice as an NC State host? But the Wolfpack brought home that team trophy, and that's what you want to see every year.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we've got some curveballs, but they've still been going over the edge of the plate through the strike zone. So it's been really tough to navigate. But yeah, having ACCs was awesome. The Atlantic Coast Conference has every year. I think it gets better and better. Like the competition it just continues to rise. Multiple teams ranked in the top 10. We really have 5+ outstanding teams, so you never know what you're going to get at the ACC tournament. It's such a small tournament, a couple upsets here and there really can swing things. Going into the tournament, obviously based on chalk and seeds, I would say we slightly projected to win, but you never know with bonus points and all and the upsets that could occur. So for us to actually come out and get the W and win the tournament, I think is really special. The athletes have worked so hard this year, as we already alluded to navigate this and get to that point. So the fact that they're able to get in there and compete and, compete up to their ability. I mean, I think for the most part, the tournament went about as well as we could. 5 ACC individual champions, ties the most individual champions ever. And, I'll always want more. A few guys maybe could have done a little better, but looking back, we're happy with the result, and now get the guys laser focused on NCAA's, because I think we're happy with it, but they're not satisfied, right? I think everyone's kind of like, all right, ACCs are done. We obviously wanted to win, but I mean, the ultimate goal is to win a national championship. So they're, continuing to work hard, continuing to keep their focus, and we have several guys that I think could come home as national champions.
I think that's one of the great things about going to that room. It's kind of the pack mentality. Celebrate that ACC win for a day, but next day it was down to business. NCAAs, let's go. Let's focus on that. You're part of the sports administration here. You're in charge of wrestling, obviously. Travel coordination, probably a much bigger job for this year for you more than anything. NCAA travel, hotels out there. You're working on food today, working on transportation. Very strict guidelines the NCAA is setting up so that everyone's safe and everybody can compete. How glad will you be once this NCAA championships starts? Because you've been working almost 2 weeks on just getting this team to there.
Yeah, I can't wait to get through this, and excited for NCAA's, obviously, for the start. I mean, I've been working really hand in hand with the coaching staff and our director of ops, Ian, who's done a tremendous job. We've been just kind of navigating it, planning it out. I mean, obviously, we got to keep everyone safe. The NCAA has their coronavirus testing protocol, so also working closely with sports medicine, who's been tremendous all year, Will Conlon. So we're really just working as a team, trying to map it out, get everyone there safely, and have some fun.
Josh, thanks for quickly stopping by. I pulled you away during your lunch hour. I'm sure you got something good down the hallway, but yeah, I think it's important people know this year's NCAA is going to look a lot different. You might be seeing the action out on the mat. ESPN's going to be streaming all the matches. A lot of action on TV, but a lot less fans, a lot less tickets. But us that are going to be able to go out there, we're very fortunate to have this opportunity to watch the guys compete, to do our job, and hopefully it'll be a fun event and hopefully bring home more honors for NC State wrestling. But Josh, thanks for everything you do. Thanks for giving us a quick little update here on the NCAAs. And we promise Pat Popolizio will be on the podcast to preview these NCAAs once the brackets come out. So we're just waiting on the brackets. But Wolfpack fans, stay tuned. We have a very special interview with one of our redshirt seniors, so stay tuned. Before we get to this week's featured interview on the Pack Mentality Pop-Ins podcast, I want to take a couple quick seconds and let Wolfpack fans know where they can follow along throughout the NCAA championships. It's going to be a very hectic 3 days of action, very fun day of action, and Wolfpack fans can follow all along. The best place for any NC State wrestling updates will be on Twitter. We are at Pack Wrestle. We'll be sending out mat assignments, links to watch the stream. We'll be sending out score updates, obviously, and all the results. And for behind the scenes look, some in-depth pictures, some what goes on when the wrestlers aren't in action, follow us on Instagram at Wolfpack Wrestling. And I want to take a quick second and thank everybody for listening and supporting the Pack Mentality Pop-Ins podcast. Now, let's get to this week's featured interview. We now welcome in your 2021 ACC champion at 174 pounds, redshirt senior Daniel Bullard. Daniel, thanks for coming on the Pack Mentality Pop-Ins podcast to talk about your season.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
First time guest on the podcast, and that's my bad. Back early, the start of this podcast, I thought about having you and your brother Thomas on at the same time, but I chickened out because I still struggle telling who is who sometimes. So obligatory twin question to start off. Besides the wedding ring, which we're going to get into later, how can people tell you and Thomas apart?
Besides the little bit of size difference that we get just by being different weight classes, I actually have a mole on my face that Thomas doesn't, and some people say our faces have a little bit different of structure, but it really comes down to just mostly people tell from personality or just they've known us long enough that it's not too bad for them.
So who has the better personality?
I don't know. I'll have to ask my my family. I don't know.
Now, you two, you've both been here for 5 years with NC State Wrestling. Excluding the freshmen, how confident are you coaches and your teammates can finally tell you guys apart?
Ooh. It depends, actually. I think it's pretty interesting. So I think it comes down to the person to person thing. So I think if some people I think are just more observant than other people. So some people get, like, I think they pick up just twins in general and pick it up really quickly. And, after a couple of weeks or months, they'll have us down every time. But other people, they'll almost never get it. So, it depends, but I think it is a person by person basis, and it has more to do with the person than how long it is necessarily.
Now, I cheat. Do a lot of people cheat too and just say Bullard out loud? And wait for you guys?
I will say most of my teammates will just call me Bullard, or it depends on the person, but yeah, most of them will.
Back to wrestling. Huge congratulations to you coming off a great weekend of action. NC State won its third ACC championship. You claimed your first individual title, taking top honors at 174, and you were the top seed. You won both your bouts. How proud are you to go undefeated in ACC action and to win the title?
It meant a lot. It was a huge moment. I was right after I won. I think it was in one of the videos you guys put out. You see me just like yes, and I think that wasn't something planned out before. That was just pure raw just reaction. I was just like, finally, yes, thank goodness. I've been wanting to do this for obviously since my freshman year, and it's just it meant so much to finally get it done at ACCs. So,
and you said finally, it's because every season you place on the podium. You've had 2/3, a second, and then this year your championship, and you've scored points every year for the team, 3 straight titles. And such a small tournament like the ACCs, how important was it for you to go out, score points for your team, and place high for yourself?
It's huge. Obviously we got some great teams in the ACC, so it's always close, and we always want to come out on top. So it's huge to compete and do well for my team, as well as win it for myself. So that's always in the back of my mind. Like, I want to do it for myself, but even if it's like the worst day and I'm feeling terrible, then like I need to gut it out for my team. So it's definitely huge to get things done for the team.
So we had Hayden at 57. You probably didn't get to see his match because you were getting mentally prepared. Had your match. I'm sure you saw some of Trent's, especially the end. The celebration of the Hidley brothers compared to the Bullard brothers, probably a little different. Would you have done a different celebration now, thinking about it?
Probably not. I've never been too huge on celebrating. I've always just I don't know. I've always just liked just to win, maybe throw up a Wolfpack sign. I've never really wanted to do too much celebrating out on the mat. I'd rather just get off, get some high fives from the teammates, that kind of deal.
I was going to say, I think you and your brother, you guys are the Wolfpack sign celebration. Maybe a point to the crowd too, a little bit now. But of course, all the high placements for yourself and your teammates, 3 straight titles. It might be hard to look back now because you're getting ready for NCAAs, but as a 4-year starter, how great was it to bring home 3 straight team trophies in this league, which, just like you said, is one of the best leagues now in college wrestling?
It's been great. When I was in high school, I was part of a pretty successful team, and it doesn't feel the same not you doing well and your team's not, or your team doing well and you're not. So, if your team does well, like when we got 4th at NCAAs, I didn't do well. So I was happy for the team, and I was really happy about that. But at the same time, I was not, I didn't do well. I didn't All-American. I didn't win. So, I wasn't, 100% pumped at the time, even though our team obviously did great. So, and the same is true for, if you lose the ACC title, even if I won, there would still be something in the back of my mind like, dang, man, we couldn't completely get it done. So being part of such a successful team where, we're winning ACC titles, and then I'm finally being able to get it done myself. It just means a lot. It's a lot of fun. It just makes everything so much better.
And you mentioned high school in Georgia. You were recruited, number one recruiting class, you and your brother obviously a part of it. How much can you go back to high school now and think how much the NC State program has changed since when you were being recruited?
I mean, yeah, it's so every new freshman class has a little bit of a different feel to it. They're different people, obviously. You got just a different group of guys. I mean, the coaches do a fantastic job of bringing in great people every year. So it just changes. You got every year you got your seniors, you guys are graduating, your older guys, and then you got your freshmen. But who makes up that class changes every year, and how the kind of dynamic works. So yeah, it just changes. What everyone likes to do, how they hang out, how they interact with each other. I mean, I think we've maintained a pretty competitive team just because that's just how our team culture works. But yeah, it's changed a lot from from my freshman year to now.
You're obviously one of the older guys on the team. You came in with a nice pack on, veteran. Has the shorter season, less matches, less weigh-ins, did that help you this year? Or would you rather have been a normal season, more tournaments? And just what do you think about for a veteran like yourself? Shorter season, longer season? Well, benefits to both, but what do you think?
So that's actually a really tough question. So I think obviously I love the crowds. I love, everything like that. But for me, I think the shorter season helped me a little bit because, like you said, I've been doing this for a while. I get banged up. I got some long-term injuries. So the shorter season, less weigh-ins. It's a lot easier on the body than a long season, because the normal season it's really long. Like you could be killing in the beginning, and then you got enough time to get there's just so much time, so many matches, and just so much training that has to be done. So I like the shorter season. Definitely helped me out a little bit. That, and I don't know, helped me zone in a little bit, as I knew I had to get really zoned in really quickly, or nothing was going to happen. So I liked the short season. Obviously there was definitely some downsides. But it worked out for me this year. So
yeah, absolutely. All right. We talked about team titles, talked about individual gold. Time to dive into life off the mat. Big change for you this summer. You got married. First off, huge congrats. What made this the right time while you were still a college wrestler?
Honestly, it came down to just why not? Like I've known that I was going to marry Abby for a long time. We started dating sophomore year of high school, so we've known each other a long time. I've known that she was going to be the person I was going to marry for years and years. So and I was been thinking about it for a while, and it came down to, I was just like, why am I not doing this? And I was like, well, the only real reason is people might think, oh, they're kind of young, or, why didn't you wait till after college? And I was like, well, do I really care like that much? And I was like, well, no, okay. I don't really. So I figured out, why not just, get married? I mean, I knew she was going to be I wanted to marry her. So.
Any cool, embarrassing, how you met or first date stories? More embarrassing for you than her, I think you should say, too.
Okay. So I think the first time we met, we met freshman year of high school. Obviously didn't start dating until sophomore year. And the first time I was dating, she always makes fun of me because she was like, hi, I'm Abby. And I was like, hi, I'm Daniel. And I went out and shook her hand. She was like, that was just so weird. So that was a complete weirdo. So.
Okay. It's always awkward.
Yeah. I was really awkward, especially at high school. So.
All right. So sophomore year to probably pretty recently, how did you propose?
Okay. So there's this kind of big landmark in Georgia called Stone Mountain. It's a pretty cool spot. They do laser shows on the face of the rock and that kind of stuff. But we it's actually a funny story. There you go. There you go. Too. So I knew I was going to propose after NCAA's, and then the plan was, I was going to do the week after the NCAA's, because I was planning on going. We usually go home then anyway, just because, it's a long season. Might as well go home, visit family after NCAA is done. So when everything was canceled, I was like, man, I don't know. So I guess I'm just got to play it by ear. So, everything got canceled. And then we ended up heading home, my brother, Abby, and I, because we're obviously all from Georgia. And we drove home together. And we got there. And then we just kind of hung out. I was like, I need to kind of figure out a time. I was kind of putting off a little bit, but I had I was like, I set a date. And I was like, all right, that's when I'm going to do it. And then the day before, I was out like scouting out the plays, trying to figure out an exact spot where I wanted to propose and all that kind of stuff. And I had my cousin with me because she was going to take pictures of us while we were proposing. And so, I got out, we're scouting it out. And then we're driving home and we get the news that they're like, all right, Georgia's going into like lockdown. And I was like, okay, our park's going to be open. Like, can I do it tomorrow? So like, all right, screw it. We're doing it today. So like, it was like so last minute. And actually Abby was a little mad at me because I turned off my phone. I wasn't answering any of her calls because we're on like top of like it's not actually a mountain, but we call it Stone Mountain. So it's like really windy. I was like, she'd be like, where are you? Because if I answered the phone, it was all windy. So I wasn't answering her phone. She was getting a little upset at me. So I was like, I had to convince her. I was like, this is gonna be the last time. We might be able to go for a date for a while, And she was like, I don't want a pity date. And I was like, I was messing with her. I was like, you're trying to postpone your own engagement. Yeah. You didn't even know it. So anyways, I ended up convincing her to go up there and proposing right around sunset. So it was okay.
That's very nice. Very planned out, quick, but good. I remember I proposed on a mountain too. It's not easy. Yeah. How has life changed? Wrestling is such a time commitment, mental commitment. How do you balance being married and also being a college wrestler?
I think when I got married, I always kind of knew it, but it, you don't really think about it as much. Your priorities shift a little bit, in my opinion, for me at least. So, I took the traditional vows and I took them pretty seriously, or take them very seriously. So, it's no longer, me first all the time or anything like that. I got to think about Abby. So yeah, that definitely has changed a lot, but she is the best. She's really supportive of wrestling. She loves watching me compete and, she loves all that. She actually, another funny story. So one of the duels, I think it was our first duel. It was right after weigh-ins. We were all just kind of talking with coaches and everything. And, Pat saw me on my phone and he was like, what are you doing? Reading a message from your wife or something like that, messing with me. And I was like, actually, yeah. And he was like, oh, what is it? Oh, I love you so much, babe. Kind of giving me a hard time. And I was like, actually, she's actually giving me some advice. I was read it. And it was something along the lines of, all right, Daniel, remember, you got to keep your elbows in, be aggressive, get your shots. And then Pat loved it. He thought it was hilarious. No, but like just that story, to say she loves wrestling. She's been my biggest supporter for a long time. So she's awesome.
One thing I wanted to ask you about cooking and eating aspect of being newlyweds. I'm assuming when you room with wrestlers, everybody's pretty strict with their diets and everybody's in the same boat during the season, but life away from your teammates, new wife, how's the food situation at home?
Abby is actually a great cook. So that is, so she spoils me a little bit. I am a mediocre cook at best. So Abby has been doing most of usually how it goes, she cooks, I clean up afterwards. So that's usually our go-to, arrangement. But yeah, she's an excellent cook, and it's pretty healthy stuff too. Okay. So that's nice. Honestly, anything that's just you're cooking yourself is just going to be healthier usually than.
Well, I was going to say, has she had to sacrifice what she wants to make, or no baked goods and stuff like that, or?
I mean, not really. I mean, every once in a while, later in the week, I'll be like, maybe chicken or that kind of stuff. But I mean, she likes to eat pretty healthy to begin with, so it hasn't been too much of a issue.
How has married life changed the twin dynamic between you and Thomas? I'm assuming this is probably the first year you guys haven't been around each other 24/7.
Yeah. So yeah, this is the first year we haven't lived in the same apartment or house or something like that. So yeah, it is a little different. But I mean, it's not too bad. I mean, like I said, Abby's been around for a while, so it's not like it's like a completely new thing. It is a little bit different, but no, Thomas and Abby get along really well, and yeah, so it hasn't been too much of a big deal.
kind of a serious question here. This is a free year for all wrestlers, meaning it doesn't count towards a year of eligibility. Has there been a decision made yet if you'll come back next season, or are you going to move on into the real world and finish college life?
So this will actually be my last year in college with wrestling with the Wolfpack. So yeah, it's just been it's been a long journey, and I wouldn't trade it for anything. But it is time for me to move on. And I mean, I can't say how thankful I am to the Wolfpack and Pat and all the coaches and everyone who's all my teammates and everything. And I wish them the best. But this will be my last year. So it's sad, honestly, for me, because I love what I do, and it's a lot of fun. But it's just the best decision for me right now.
Absolutely.
But it's gonna. I knew it's sad because I knew it's gonna be sad no matter when I did it. I could be 30 years old, still still going for still wrestling. It would still be sad, or even if I finished it in high school, it would be sad no matter what, I think. But yeah.
I'm sure it will hit you after the NCAAs. NCAAs are going to be so focused when you get out there, but that day we're leaving St. Louis might hit you a little harder that day.
Yeah, probably. Even right before the ACC finals match, I was looking around, and I was, I actually was watching Hayden's match, because I just can't not watch. It's been more distracted for me to not watch than to watch. So, I was watching it, and I was looking around, and I was like, wow, this is going to be my last time competing in Worlds. And I was like, gosh. And it wasn't like I have to do well, but it was just like, man, it was a kind of a little bit of I don't know, just reminiscing a little bit of all the fun times we had. Absolutely. And I was like, all right, well, might as well have go out and win it.
Win the gold. You did it. Business administration major already. Now you're working on an econ major. What do you see yourself doing with these degrees? Where will real life be? Just what's your next journey?
So my business administration degree is with a concentration in IT, and that's right now is a plan of what the field I want to get into. Is the next step for me is hopefully to get a couple certifications as I finish up after NCAA's and as I finish up the school year, and then I'll be moving back to Georgia in July, I believe, just to be back closer to family, because me and Abby both have big families and we're very close. So that was always kind of the plan, is to head back there. So.
Did you guys buy a house yet? Looking for an apartment?
Looking right now. Yeah, that's actually been a big, obviously something a big deal, is to find a spot to live. Thankfully, Abby actually just got a job down in Georgia. She's a third grade teacher. She's really good at her job. She's great with the kids and all that. So.
Get you out here on this. We're taping this podcast before the brackets come out, but you should be a top 10 seed at 174. What will it take for you to make a run at an NCAA title and earn All-American honors here in your last year?
I just think it's going to need a lot of focus. I think the biggest difference between this year getting first and the last couple of years getting third or second is just kind of a next level of focus. I don't know how to really describe it. Even in my finals match, I just knew I was going to win. And it's not like it was like a confidence thing. It was just that I knew I was so focused in, so zeroed in, that I wasn't even worried about losing, because I was just I don't know, I was just dialed in. So I think there's have to be that next level of focus. And if I want to win a national championship, I'm going to have to be the best guy anyway. So no matter what the seeding is, it is what it is. So I don't know. I think it's just going to need a lot of focus, and a good day for me to show up. So
this year is probably a lot different. You didn't see tournaments. It was mostly ACC action. Are you the type, do you need to know who your opponent is, or you just go out and just try to wrestle your style?
No, I'm going to be honest with you. So actually the coaches actually don't love this about me.
That's okay. First of all, behind the scene, that's why I asked this question, because I know where you're going. But
so I'm what you would call the worst wrestling fan in the history of wrestling. Not to say that I don't love wrestling, because I love it. I just don't love watching, especially my competition, wrestle. I would rather, what my coaches usually do, especially Donnie, is I'm like, all right, what does he do? And they'll give me, he does this on his feet. He does, maybe he does this. If he's got something special on top or bottom, he'll be like, hey, watch out for this and this. And that's pretty much all I want to know. I don't really even care like what his name is, honestly. Like, I'll know what it is, but I don't really care that much. Not obviously no disrespect for my opponents. I got a lot of respect for them. It's just, I don't really need to know, I feel like, cause like the more you because especially nowadays, people like try to hype up, because, you got social media and all that stuff, and people really like to hype up like certain people and make them pretend like there's something they're not, and that like unbeatable or something like that. And even if they're not like, not the number one guy, there can be like a ton of hype around a guy that he's just another wrestler and he's just another opponent, and he's going to do the same things I go out there and do. He's going to try to win. So I don't really need to worry about, who this guy is, or more than anything, who these people think he is. So honestly, the less I know about him, like honestly, the better. Like I would rather just go out there and say, all right, he likes to do a high crotch to the left side. He's a lefty lead. He writes tough on top, or he's not much of a top guy, or, stuff like that. And that's pretty much all I want to know, honestly.
So you're at NCAAs. Would you rather get a third period ride out for the ride time point for the win, or a last second takedown for the win?
Like I'm going to get that, or I need that?
What would you like to do? You talk about this is your final match. How would you want to go on top? Would the Bullard ride out want to go, or would you want to go, no, I want the takedown to win it?
I want the takedown.
Okay.
I want the takedown. There's something really satisfying about a takedown. I don't know what it is. So
you won an ACC title off a takedown
that's
in
true.
overtime. So
that's true. Definitely the takedown. Actually, definitely the takedown.
All right, Daniel, thanks for joining us on the podcast. You shared a lot about your life off the mat. Best of luck at the NCAAs.
Thank you. I really appreciate having me.
I want to thank everybody for listening today. This is your Pack Mentality Pop-Ins podcast covering all things NC State wrestling. Until next time, Wolfpack Wrestling fans, go Pack.
Mentality Pop-Ins podcast is produced by the Mat Talk Podcast Network. For more wrestling podcasts, go to MatTalkOnline.com.